Okay, today's language arts lesson is on structure in poetry, and this is in your poetry digital resource slideshow, and this is slide number 24. So when we're studying structure in poetry, and these are the things that we're going to be covering: couplet, refrain, verse, stanza, quatrain, and octave. And these, the next page, the next slide, this is what you have in your composition book. So verse is a single line of a poem. Its real definition above is often confused with a stanza. So remember, a verse is a single line of a poem. And in your composition book, what should be right underneath that is this right here is an example of a verse. So hold fast to dreams. So you notice it's one line of a poem, a single line of a poem. Okay, so the next term that we're going to go over is stanza. Stanza is a grouped set of lines in a poem, set apart from others with a line of space. So you can kind of think of it like the paragraph of a poem. And so right underneath stanza in your composition book is an example of a stanza. So you can see it kind of looks, this is stanza 1 and this is stanza 2, and you can kind of see that it looks like a paragraph, right? So the stanza reads, "Two roads diverged in a yellow wood, and sorry I could not travel both. And be one traveler, long I stood, and looked down one as far as I could, to where it bent in the undergrowth." So this is considered one stanza. Okay, the next term that we're going to go over is called refrain. So refrain, the definition reads, phrases or lines of poetry that are repeated in the poem. So it's kind of like the chorus of a song. So if you guys are familiar with music, chorus is, that those lines of lines in a song that kind of repeat after, throughout the song. So here's an example. "The woods are lovely, dark and deep, but I have promises to keep. And miles to go before I sleep, and miles to go before I sleep." So the refrain would be something that, you would hear throughout the song that would be repeated. Okay, the next term, couplet, a pair of lines, two lines, in a poem that contain end rhymes. So you remember, end rhymes are those rhymes that the words at the end of the line rhyme. So this is one of the most popular poetry structures. So let's look at the example that's underneath. "I think that I shall never see a poem as lovely as a tree." And you notice tree and see, they're the end rhymes, and they rhyme, okay? See and tree. So that's why they're given the value of an A. So this is a couplet. Now, a quatrain is a stanza or poem that contains 4 lines. Now let's look at the example. Here's an example of a quatrain. "He gives his harness bells a shake to ask if there is some mistake. The only other sounds the sweep of easy wind and downy flake." So you can see this. These are 4 lines, 4 verses, and they make up a quatrain. And you can see the rhyme scheme right here. Shake and mistake, they rhyme, so they're given the value of an A. And sweep does not rhyme with mistake or shake, so it's given a B. And the last line, flake, is rhymes with mistake and shake. Now the last term is octave. An octave is a stanza or poem that contains 8 lines. So for an octave, octave is take, oh take those lips away that so sweetly were first sworn, and those eyes, the break of day, lights that do mislead the morn, but my kisses bring again, seals of love, but sealed in vain, sealed in vain. Now if you count all of these, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, you'll notice that there are 8 lines. And these 8 lines make up an octave. Okay, now for your assignments, you're going to be going to your assignment slideshow. And your assignment slideshow, you're going to be doing slides 23, 24, 25, 26, and 27. So let me explain to you how to do it, starting with slide 23. So slide 23 reads, for each poem, count the stanzas, stanza breaks, and verses. Write the correct number in the boxes below each poem. Write the refrain of the stolen child. Now you notice that there's a new word in there, stanza breaks. Stanza breaks are just the break between each stanza. So this first area right here, this first grouping, this first paragraph looking thing is a stanza. And so the stanza break would be it would be this space between this first stanza and the second stanza. So that's what a stanza break is. Okay, so it says, again, count the stanzas. You remember stanzas like a paragraph in a poem. The stanza breaks, which is this extra space between the stanzas, and verses. So remember, verses are single lines in a poem. Okay, then it says to write the refrain of the stolen child. So if you look down below, so for this poem, you would write the number of stanzas in this box right here, the number of stanza breaks, and the number of verses right here. Okay, so you would count up how many lines in each of these for the verses, stanza breaks, and number of stanzas. You would do the same for this next poem on slide 24, returning we hear the larks. Again, count the number of stanzas, the number of stanza breaks, and the number of verses. And for the next poem, the trail, and for this poem, the stolen child, write the number of stanzas, number of stanza breaks, and this time write what is the refrain of the song. So look for, kind of like the chorus, what is repeated throughout the song. So if you kind of scan it, you can kind of see that area in each stanza where they repeat the same words or the same phrases, same lines. Okay, so you would write that in this box right here. Now for slide 26, couplet. Okay, here we're going to have some fun with these slides, and the directions say a couplet is a pair of lines, 2 lines that contain end rhymes. So before we do anything else or with couplets, we're going to create a list of rhyming words. So begin by thinking of word families. The first one is done for you as an example. So think of a word family first. So we thought of at, and below at, write all the words that would rhyme with at. So cat, bat, splat, flat, brat. Other word families could be et, bet, set, met, regret. Okay, you get the idea? So come up with other word families here, and below think of words that would rhyme. Now you might also want to check out the internet site Rhyme Zone, and you can type in any word family and you would get a listing of tons and tons of words that rhyme with that word family. Okay, so then it says next, use your brainstorm words to write 3 couplets. So remember, a couplet is a pair of 2 lines that contain end rhymes. So here's an example. Okay, this is a couplet because it contains 2 lines and it contains end rhymes. I'd like to sit upon the rocking chair. Okay, and I'm going to bold this. But I'm unable to remove the bear. Okay, so chair and bear rhyme. And I'm going to give it, label it with an A so you know that they rhyme. Okay, the rhyme scheme. Okay, so this is an example of a couplet. In the next 3 boxes, you're going to write 3 examples of couplets. Now you can use these rhyming words here. So if I look at my word family for et, I can come up with a couplet for number 1. Okay, so I might want to say, let's see. Last night I made a bet that I soon will regret. Okay, now bet and regret. Okay, so this is a couplet. It's 2 lines and the end rhymes, they both rhyme. Okay, bet and regret. Now for 28 or 27, sorry, here are the directions. It says playing with couplets, terse verse. Okay, so we're gonna have a little fun here, and it's gonna be a little bit more challenging, but it'll be fun. Okay, so we are going to use a couplet for a play on words. This type of couplet is called a terse verse. Here's the way you play. Okay, so here are some examples. If turkeys gobble, do pilgrims squabble? Now this is a couplet because it's 2 lines and the 2 end rhymes are gobble and squabble. Okay, here's another one. If cars go zoom, do exhaust smoke plume? And yet another example. If dogs bark, do they want to go to the park? So here's what you need to do. Write 2 terse verses. Use the if and do prompts to help you with this play on words. Remember that they're couplets, so the last words in each line must rhyme. Okay, so we've already filled in for you if and do, if and do. Okay, so try to be creative and have some fun, and think of some terse verses that would be creative, funny, and you can show your humor. And so remember that you're writing a couplet and the last words in each line must rhyme. Okay, and that's it for our lesson for today. Remember, you have to do slides 23, 24, 25, 26, and 27. Thank you very much.